be replaced with a tilde. Okay, so that's what that means. Just the home path to your home directory, home user directory. Let's see how to change the desktop background on Fedora. So to change the background image on Fedora, the easiest way to do it is let's see how to change the desktop background on Fedora. So to change the background image on Fedora, the easiest way to do it is figure out the image you want to use. You can go find the image that you want to use. For example, let's say that this is the image that I want to use. I can right click and then set as wallpaper. You may need to change various settings for the image. So you can see the background there, it's a little zoomed in. You can change various settings for the image. So let's see how we can do that. I'm just going to right click on the desktop and then I will click on desktop settings. So here you can also select different images. If you want to use another image other than that, you can select an image there. For instance, if I want to use that, I can select that, but I'm just going to click on the image that I want to use because it serves well for the purposes of this video. Let's say, for example, you want to make the full image visible. You can change the style of the image right there. So right now it is zoomed. If you scale it, you'll see that the image will look like that. Maybe you make it tiled. You're going to have a tiled image. You can make it centered. And also, if you want the desktop background to be blank, you can just come in here and click on none, and that's going to remove the image. You can also make the image automatically transition. Maybe you want it to transition after every minute, right there. And you can make it transition in random order. But of course, you're going to have to choose an image there. So let's say, for example, we change the style back to tiled, and you can wait for some time for the image to change, and it's going to change in that folder. So the folder that is there, that's the one it's going to use to auto change it. You can select a different folder. So let me just wait for a minute and see if it's going to actually change the image automatically. There you go. You can see after a minute, the image was changed to the next image right there. That's how you can change the background image on your Fedora desktop. And this is XFCE. So that is also important. XFCE desktop, XFCE Fedora. All right, that's it for this video. Until next time. Hi, and welcome to this video. In this video, I will show you how to install Nginx on Ubuntu server or Debian server. Search for install Nginx. I'll just click there on installing Nginx. So when you're here, you can install on Linux. Let's go to packages and then choose your Linux distro. I will go with Ubuntu, but this will work on Ubuntu or Debian. So I will create a TXT file, and the purpose for the TXT file is to copy all these commands there. Then I'll just paste them on Ubuntu at once. So I'm just going to copy this. And then the next one, you can verify or you can skip that. In my case, I'm just going to skip this, but make sure you verify that this is what it's going to be output for you. I'm going to set the apt repository for mainline. Nginx has two major versions, that is the stable version and the mainline version. The mainline version has the most recent features and also may have newer bugs and may also have a few experimental features that are not available on stable. If you're running any Nginx third-party packages, it's always a good idea to stick with Nginx stable. If you're not running any third-party Nginx packages, then you should just stick with mainline, and you can use mainline in production. It's not like using mainline in production is prohibited. No, you can use mainline in production because it has the most recent features. It is frequently updated. going to go with the mainline version. Control V, and then eventually we're going to pin the repository so that it's preferred over the Ubuntu packages. You will update the Ubuntu repository, the Ubuntu cache, and then install Nginx. I'm just putting everything in one file. This way I can just Control A everything and then run it on my Ubuntu server. So Control L, clear the screen, Control Shift V on the terminal, Control Shift V. So if you're on Windows, you're following along on Windows, you can, if you're logged into your server, just log in using Git bash and you can still follow along without any problems. So I'll press enter password. So just give it time, accept that, just press enter. There you go. Nginx is now installed on your server. This is a VirtualBox machine. So if I was to access this on my main computer here, I should be able to see the Nginx welcome page 5.22. Okay, that's because Nginx is not started. At least this is a good thing. So at least I can confirm that Nginx will be working. So if I was to check if Nginx is actually running, I can do sudo systemctl status Nginx. So you can see it is not running. We can just start Nginx. System start Nginx. And now if you were to do status again, you'll see now it's running. So if you come back here to test, there we go. Nginx is now running. You can deploy whatever applications you want to deploy with your Nginx server. So on Ubuntu, if you want to customize your Nginx, you'll find the configuration files under, let me just do ls. Does sudo work with ls? I think so. etc/nginx tab. If you look inside there, you're going to see confd. So on Ubuntu, your configuration will be inside there. So let's say you want to create a new website. You can just create the new website inside there. For example, sudo vi, create the file inside there, google.com. You can create the configuration like that, and then add your configuration inside here and save the file. Right, so I'm not going to go through this step. And then of course, once you do this, you reload Nginx. I'm going to close this by doing Q. And once you've set up your configuration for one of your website properties, you can just do sudo nginx-t to test if your configurations are okay. If you receive any error, rectify your configuration. And then if the configuration is okay, you can reload Nginx, and you will be able to access whatever property you've configured there. All right, so that's how to install Nginx on Ubuntu or Debian server. See you next time. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. You can quickly install IonCube Loader on HSTCP. So to do that, just go to hstcp.com. You want to go to the documentation, click there on documentation, and just scroll all the way down. And down here under community, you're going to see IonCube installer for Hestia. And this can install IonCube for all your PHP versions. So just click there. Every time you enable a PHP version, you can just come in here and run the script, and it will install IonCube Loader for that PHP version. Or it can do so for all PHP versions that are currently active on your Hestia install. Shift Control V. You don't have to run this as the root user. You can simply come in here and add sudo. Here as well, you can add sudo if you're not the root user, and then just run that. And now IronCube is enabled for PHP 8.2. So if I come back here and I refresh, there you go. IronCube Loader is now working. That's it for this one. If you have any question, let me know. Hi there and welcome to this video. Did you know that Vultr also has a free tier and you can get a free virtual server? How can you get a free VPS server from Vultr? Vultr has a free tier program. So if you come here under account and you scroll down into free tier program, you can see if you're eligible. So your eligibility will be shown there for you. So the program requires that you have a credit card set up, not PayPal, not crypto. A credit card needs to be set up. Once you set up a credit card in your billing section, you'll see a tick like that. You also need to have two-factor authentication enabled on your account, and that can be done under account settings. And then these are additional features: billing address, maybe your business website URL. And these are details that you can set under personal information on your profile. So just click there and you can set these settings. But most importantly, you need to have a credit card and two-factor authentication. And once these two are green, you can click there to request early access. Once you're allowed to access the free tier, basically creating free virtual machines, let me show you how you can create your free virtual server on Vultr. So to create your product, you don't have to go back, but let's just go back to products. I'll click there on products and I will click on deploy and deploy new server. So the free Vultr servers can be found here under shared CPU. I believe the free servers can be found in Miami, Seattle, and Frankfurt, Deutschland. The free server falls under cloud compute. So these are the older servers, the older generation servers, and you can get a 1 vCPU server and 0.5 GB memory. So one virtual CPU, 0.5 GB of memory, and you can see there it's free. Go next. Let's configure to go next. The locations with these servers are here. So if you click configure and nothing happens, just come up here and change the location to one of these, the location for the data center. So I'm going to choose Frankfurt and configure. And I always recommend Debian, so I'll go with Debian 12. And you can add your SSH key if you've already set it up. Startup script, firewall group, I don't need those for now. So add your server host name right there. IPv4, of course, nowadays IPv6 is also available for free. You can use that. And that's pretty much it. So of course, I'm not eligible for the free tier. Therefore, my server cannot be provisioned. And if I click on deploy, it's going to try to create the server, but you can see server add failed. Access to the free tier product has not been approved for your account. So you have to request access where I showed you. Once you get access to the server, you can log in, and to log into a server, you can just do SSH. And the user is probably root. Shift out your IP, whichever IP you have there. And once you enter, you're going to get requested for a password, and the password will be available on your Vultr account. Just click on your virtual machine and then copy the password from there. If you're interested, you can continue on deploying your production applications on Vultr. So that's it. Until next time. In this video, I will show you how to add an SSH key to your server. If your server is currently using a password and you want to change that so that you can use an SSH key, I will show you how to do it. So if you're on Windows, download and install Git and follow along with Git Bash. Mac or Linux, just use the normal terminal. So the first step, we're going to generate an SSH key, and then we're going to add the SSH key to our server, and then we're going to test if we can log in with it. So generate the SSH key is just SSH keygen, and then I want to choose a type of key, so -t, and I'm going to use ed25519 key, and then I want to give the file a name. And the benefit of giving the file a name is because you can is that you can generate multiple keys in future and use them on different servers without having to override any of your keys. So -F will just define a file name, and we want to store it inside of the SSH directory. So that's my home folder. If you see this, this is just my home folder. And then inside of my home folder, there's a folder called SSH. And then inside of the SSH folder, there's a folder called tutorials that I want to use. And then inside of that directory, that is where I'm going to generate my SSH key. That is where I'm going to generate my SSH keys. So I'll just call them DO keys. And that just stands for DigitalOcean keys. You can name them something you can recognize. And another thing that can help you recognize your keys in future is just add a comment. So I will add a comment here, and I can just say keys for DO. But you can use this with any VPS. I'm just using DigitalOcean as an example. So once you do this, confirm the name of your keys, the location where you want your keys, and then you can generate the keys. I'll just press enter to generate. And you can also add a passphrase, and a passphrase is important because it protects your key. If somebody else gets your key, they can use your key, but without the passphrase, they won't be able to use it directly. So I'm going to add a passphrase. If you're going to log in manually, add the passphrase. Confirm the passphrase, enter. All right, my key is generated. The next step is to add it to my server. So to add it to my server, I'll just do Control L to clear the screen, and then I will do SSH copy ID. So SSH copy ID will help us to copy the public key to the server. If you don't know how these commands are going to follow each other, which one comes first, you can do SSH copy ID -H, and it's going to show you this. So you can see there, the SSH copy ID will come first. Any directives you want to give this command will come there, and then you'll put in the identity of the file, and then if you're using a different port, you'll put the port number, and then finally the username and the IP address of your server. So I just wanted to show you this in case you don't want to copy from somewhere. You can actually just get these commands here directly from the help text. So I'm going to close that, and I want to do SSH copy ID. The first thing, let's give it the identity of the file, and the identity of the file is a file we've just created. If you scroll back up, you're going to see the links to your public key and the link to your private key. So all of it is there. You can copy these links and save them somewhere if you don't know how to get back to them. So I'll copy the public key. That's the one that I need to add on my server. Shift insert to paste in Git bash. Then the user is root at my IP. Let's come back here, copy my IP, paste. This is going to add this key to our server. So I'm going to press enter, but you need to be ready with your password because at some point you're going to enter your user password. So .pub is the one you're adding to the key. Make sure you're not adding the other one, which is the private key. So add the .pub key, and then I'm going to press enter. So it's going to confirm whether the key is already added to my server or not. If it is not added, it's going to add it. Let me copy my root password. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? So this is because this is the first time I'm actually connecting to the server. I have not connected to it, so that's why it's asking for the fingerprint. So when you see this, just type yes. If you have already connected to this server before, you've logged into this server, then you're not going to see this message. And that is a message about the fingerprint. So I'm going to enter. So as this is happening, something else I want to add is that your user is what you'll use here. In this case, I'm adding it for root. That's why I'm using the root user. If there's another user that you're adding the key for, that is a user that you're going to use instead of using the root user. So down here, we're being asked for the password. I'm just going to paste in my password, press enter. And this is a password for your server user. So let's see, copy. There we go. The key has been added. Now the next step, of course, is to log in with the key. And I'm just going to go ahead and log in with the key. So I'll do Control L to clear the screen. And I'm just going to press the up arrow. I don't want to type again. I'm just going to remove that. So to log in, I can log in with the private key. The private key doesn't have .pub. And here as well, I'm just going to remove copy ID. So I can SSH with the identity of my key and that is the user. And if there was a port, you can add the port number there after. So I'm just going to press enter, and this should be logging us in with our private key. Since I added a passphrase, I'm going to need to enter my passphrase. Make sure you can remember the passphrase. All right, I'm logged into my server. I can see the updates I can do, so I can just update those. And since this is Ubuntu, I can do apt update. So I can upgrade the updates, apt upgrade, enter. Press tab to go to OK, and then just press enter. All right, I'll press Ctrl L again to clear the screen. Now the next thing, since you have set up an SSH key for your server, you can disable password authentication. So to do that, you can just do vi etc ssh /sshd conf tab to autocomplete it. Here I want to find password authentication and disable it. So to log into this server, you're going to need to log in with an SSH key. Since I'm using Vim, I can just / and then search for password authentication, and I can see it's set to yes, but it's commented out, so I can press enter. And I'm just going to press N to see if there's another occurrence of password authentication, because usually you'll find that there may be another occurrence of password authentication whereby it is allowing or disabling password authentication. Okay, so there's no other occurrence of password authentication. So I'm going to use this one, and I can first of all delete the comment that is the hash in front of it. I can go into insert mode, and I'll just press I to go into insert mode, delete that, and then we want to make this no. So this means that logging in with the password is forbidden. So I'm going to escape, and then Shift ZZ to save. And then I'm going to restart SSH, system ctl reload SSH. Let me open another tab and try to log in with the password. So opening another instance of Gitbash, and then I will try to log in SSH. I'll try to log in with the password. Enter. Okay. Let's see if I can log in. This is actually a good thing. If it allows me to log in, it's going to give me an opportunity to teach you something here. Okay, so you can see I'm able to log in with my password. So what do you think that means? That means that DigitalOcean has another SSH configuration file that they use. Instead of the default one, there's another one that they use. So let's confirm if that's true. I'm just going to do ls/etc/ssh/sshd tab to autocomplete, and then it's a directory sshd configuration. So you can see there are two files inside here, and this means that one of the files is overriding my changes. So what I can do is to look into these files to see what we have. So I'm going to do vi. I'm assuming it's the first one. Based on past experience, it's the first one. So I'm just going to do 50 and then tab to autocomplete it. I want to see what's inside of this file. And you can see password authentication is set to yes. So I need to set this to no if I want to disable password authentication. So I can do Shift A to edit this, and that is no. Escape, and then Shift ZZ to save. And if I reload SSH, I can just do this time round service SSH restart. All right, so now if I was to try and log in with a password, let me open a new Gitbash window, and I will try to log in with the password SSH root shift at paste, enter. And now you can see permission denied, public key. This means that if you ever see this, it means that you can only log in with an SSH key. And if for any reason you need to log in with your password, you have to log in with the key and then disable password authentication. So that's the case if perhaps you're using SFTP and you need to log in without a key, then you'll have to disable password authentication. It's important to note that in as much as most configurations for SSH are usually placed here, cloud providers nowadays are creating their own file. And in this file, they add configuration files that will override everything in that file. So you have to go into this directory to confirm if there's another file that is probably overriding your SSH configuration and make changes in that file. Or you can create your own file. If there is no file there, you can create your own file and then use that instead. All right, that's it for this one. You've seen how you can add an SSH key to your VPS. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. In this video, let's see how to delete an Azure resource group. So I'll go to all my resources, just click there, go to all resource groups. And then for the resource group that you want to delete, just click on the resource group. Up here, you're going to see delete resource group. So click on it. And you're going to need the name for the resource group. Type it down there, paste it down there, and then you can delete the resource group. That's it. Hi there and welcome to this video. In this video, you're going to see how you can transfer your domain from Cloudflare to Unstoppable Domains. You might want to transfer your domain to Unstoppable Domains if perhaps you want to use it as the link for your crypto wallet. So that's one of the features you'll get on Unstoppable Domains. So first thing, just create your account on Unstoppable Domains. If you don't have an account, click there to sign up. And you can sign up with all these accounts, Google, X, or your email. I already have an account. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come back where I'm logged in. And here on the menu, you can click on transfer. So you have to start the transfer on Unstoppable Domain. So I'll come back to Cloudflare, go to domain registration, and then manage domains. So I can transfer one of these domains as a sample. I will transfer this as an illustration in this video. So I'm going to copy, come back here, paste, and then we need the EPP code. So I'm going to go back to Cloudflare. I'm going to go back to Cloudflare and then come back to manage the domain. I will click on configuration. You can see Cloudflare has one of the best domain management interfaces, very easy to work with. So move to another, oh, I see they added this. So transfer to another registrar, unlock, confirm and unlock, copy. Let's come back, put the code, continue. So the reason I'm transferring the domain is that the domain is almost expiring. Cloudflare is a good registrar. I have never had any problems with my domains on Cloudflare. So I'm just transferring because right now I'd rather pay that to transfer the domain than pay the renewal price because I'm not using the domain. Once you add the code, just click there, discount transfer promotion, and then validate and go to cart. So at this point, you can continue on to checkout. And you can pay with card, PayPal, crypto, crypto.com, whichever means you want to pay, go ahead and pay. When the domain renews, it's going to renew at $11. For now, make your payment. All right, there, your domain is now paid for. Now that the domain is paid for, and I'm assuming you're already logged in, since that's the first thing I told you to do, to sign up and log in, your domain is now under your My Domains. You'll receive an email from Cloudflare that the domain transfer request has been made. And on this end, all you have to do is just wait, but you can speed up the domain transfer by just going to Cloudflare, and on the same page, I'm just going to refresh, and you'll see here there is a button, accept transfer. You can accept the transfer. This is going to approve the transfer to Unstoppable Domains. Wait for the transfer to complete, and the domain will be ready for you to manage on this end. So right now, you can see I can't do anything with the domain, but give it like 20 minutes, and when you come back, you'll be able to manage the DNS. Like for this one, it's already active here. So if I click on action, I can edit the name servers. All right. So just give this one time to activate. And also, if you want to connect it to your wallet, once the domain is active, you can do so. You can click on it. So for this, just give maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and it's going to be ready, and you can manage it on Unstoppable Domains. For now, the domain has been migrated from Cloudflare. That's it. Somebody asked me for Linux. To me, the one that I've used that never gives me any problems is Simple Screen Recorder. If you're on Fedora as well, or any Red Hat related Linux distros, you can install Simple Screen Recorder. So let's first of all see how to install it. It's already installed. That's what I'm using right now. So if you want to search if it is available in your distro, you can do DNF search Simple Screen Recorder. DNF search Simple Screen Recorder. Okay, so if you see this, it means that it's available for you, and you can just install it by doing DNF install. I'll do Control L to clear the screen. I'll do DNF install Simple Screen Recorder. Of course, I need to use sudo. So if I do that, it's going to run the command, and I can enter my user password. All right, so nothing to do. Package is already installed. That is, if you are on RHEL related distros. If you're on Debian related distros, you can do apt search. You can actually, it is there. I'm sure it is available in the Debian repository, Ubuntu repository. So if you're in those distros, you can do sudo apt install Simple Screen Recorder. Of course, that's not going to work here, but that's how you can install it on Debian, Ubuntu, any Debian based distro. Once it is installed, to use it, simply open it. Of course, you're going to see Simple Screen Recorder recording itself. I'm using XFCE disks, so to find it, it will be under Simple Screen Recorder, and this is the interface it's going to show you.